Lancaster, Pennsylvania is a phenomenal place to live, but how much does it cost to live here? That's what this video is all about, breaking down the cost of living in Lancaster and Lancaster County, PA in 2024. Hi there and welcome. Thanks so much for watching this video. This YouTube channel is Living in Lancaster, and we break down all of the aspects about living in Lancaster. We're giving you the truth too. It's not just the one-sided, Lancaster's so great. Of course, there's pros and cons with living here, and in this channel, that's what we're breaking all down, all of the aspects about it. Now, again, we love living here. It is a phenomenal place to live. But if you're doing research into the Lancaster area to figure out if it's a place you want to live, financials are going to be a huge aspect of that. And that's what the hope in this video is. So if you're a returning subscriber to this channel, thanks once again for tuning in. And if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. Do me a favor and subscribe to our channel if you want more content about Lancaster, and also give a thumbs up on this video. It really helps things out for us and just lets us know that you are watching us. Really appreciate that. My name is Matt Moore with the Moore Group, part of a real estate team here in the Lancaster area. It's where we live, it's where we love. And if you have any questions at all, real quickly, put our information up here on the screen. Call, text, email, it does not matter. We want to be a resource for you to help answer your questions and of course, be able to guide you on any real estate journey you may have. And we will have more contact information at the end of this video if you want to scroll there now, or just hang tight and we'll get there at the end of the video as well. We're going to be breaking down some of the financials in this video, the cost of living heading into a new year of 2024. And if you've been part of this channel and you've been subscribed here, you know I do these videos every once in a while just to update things as we go along. And in terms of financials, well, everybody's been dealing with higher cost of living in general. Inflation was a huge component of 2023. And while it seems that maybe we have some economic cycles coming back down from the inflation side of things, it's still more expensive to live here in Lancaster than it has in the past. And that's what we're breaking down. And let's start with look at some of the data. All right, first things first, we're going to talk about housing and not just buying a house. We're going to be talking about rents and things like that, so you can kind of plan ahead and figure out if it makes sense for you to be here. Now, I'll give you one big just notice is that when you're looking at the data here and you go to Google and you type in cost of living in Lancaster, PA, just be careful about what data you're actually looking at, because Lancaster is a city within Lancaster County. And so if you're looking at just cost of living in Lancaster, PA, there's a decent chance you might be looking at data for the city of Lancaster, not for Lancaster County as a whole. And if you have no interest in being in the city at all, well, then you're going to be looking at different data, skewed data, and it won't be exactly what you're looking for, particularly when you look at the housing numbers, because homes in the city are generally less expensive than out in the suburbs, out in the more rural parts. It's at least from a median price perspective. So now that I've gotten off the soapbox in terms of what you should be looking to for a heads up perspective, let's dive into that data and that housing data in particular. Now, first things first, I like to look at the last 90 days of time when it comes to average sale prices. So we'll look at the whole county as a whole, and that average sale price came in right around $350,000. So that would be the average sale price for a home here in Lancaster County. But there's higher, there's certainly lower, and it really just depends on what your budget is looking for here. Now, you can kind of see some of the data here. The high number is over a $2 million sale in the last 90 days. So that does skew that average higher. And of course, there's some lower numbers too. There was a closing price around the $1 mark. Again, probably a transfer from amongst family members, but that does also skew it in the other direction too. So that average is a good metric for us to keep track of, and it is higher than it was the last couple of years and going back the last couple of years even before that. So the average sale price here in Lancaster continues to rise and right around that $350K mark. Now, sometimes I like to look at the median number, which is that middle number, as a better metric for what a home actually costs here in the Lancaster area. And $320,000 is where that median number comes in here in Lancaster County. Now, if you're looking for a 4-bed, 2.5 bath home, over 2,000 square feet in a neighborhood, you're going to have to look higher than this number. In fact, they're going to be probably closer to in the 4s or even in the 5s or higher from there. But if you're looking for something a little smaller, less bedrooms, less bathrooms, and maybe something a little older, perhaps it's dated, perhaps it needs some cosmetic updates, that's where we're probably talking about more along the lines of these median numbers, these high 200s to low to mid 300s. That's also where we have the most amount of competition. And with a limited inventory market, that's also where we have the highest amount of buyers. So again, you're competing if you're looking in those price ranges, and homes that go on the market typically sell very quickly, less than a week in those price ranges, and there's usually some competition to go along with it. So just be aware of that if you're considering the Lancaster area. But I think that's broad spectrum, kind of a conversation for many other locations here across the United States. I don't think, especially in the eastern half of the United States, definitely seeing lack of inventory continuing to drive higher pricing and competitive situations, not just here in Lancaster, but across the entire eastern US. But even still, that average sale price around $350,000, it pales in comparison to the average sale price here in the United States as a whole. That number is coming in around $513,000, so we'll call it $60,000 difference between what we are seeing here in the Lancaster area for average sale price versus what's going on in the whole United States. And of course, Southern California, you can have $5-6 million homes, 4 beds, 2 baths, and nothing that you would really think is all that remarkable. So again, you have these very expensive metro markets across the United States, which skew that average. But when it comes to USA versus Lancaster, Lancaster comes in cheaper when it comes to average housing. Now let's talk about rents. Maybe you don't have any intention of owning a home, have no desire, or at least it's not in the cards for you quite yet. Renting for you is going to be important, and those rent numbers are also going to be important as well. And these numbers have been creeping up over the last couple of years, and here's where they stand right now. In Lancaster County, the average studio apartment comes in around $900 per month, and then you take those steps up. You go to 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and we're quickly going over $1,000 a month. And by 3 bedroom, we're somewhere around $1,500 to $1,700 per month here in the Lancaster County area. These numbers and these stats coming from a variety of different websites, but as a ground truth perspective, I can confirm that this is generally what you're going to be paying. Now, keep in mind, the closer you get into Lancaster City, but you stay in the suburbs, the higher that rent per month is going to be. So again, these are just average numbers. You have highs and lows, but again, you kind of border those things plus or minus a couple $100 for what you're looking for, and it should generally get you in the ballpark. All right, next up, we're talking about cost of goods, or groceries in this case, at least how these are categorized. And I don't agree with this data. And again, this coming from bestplaces.com, where it's aggregating this data in general, and it shows that Lancaster is higher than the national average when it comes to groceries or cost of goods and things like that. I think this is a cyclical thing. During the winter, colder months, I do believe that the cost of goods is probably at or above the national average. But the flip side to that is when we get into the agricultural months, that's when a lot of the local produce is being produced. Summer into fall, that's when the cost of produce and groceries and things like that, they start to come down quite a bit. And I think generally, if you average things out over the entire year, this number is probably lower than the national average when you factor in vegetables, fruits, and of course meats, things like that, cheese, dairy, those kinds of things, which can be produced locally right here in the Lancaster area. Lancaster is one of those places where there's a lot of farmers markets around, and you can get farm fresh produce locally here, and it's much less expensive than you buy it at the grocery stores. But keep in mind, farmers markets operate during the warmer months when things are in season, and so that's when we tend to see that flip in the pricing. There are also a lot of country markets in this area too that have farm fresh meats, where you can get the locally sourced meats, and you get it at a fraction of the cost built because there's just not as much in the way of transportation and shipping costs. Next up on the list is healthcare, and if you've been a follower of this channel, you know that I harp on this fact, is that Lancaster County has some of the best quality healthcare of anywhere in the country in terms of choices and in terms of variety of services for what you need. But that comes at a cost. It is somewhat expensive to be in the Lancaster area from a healthcare perspective. And the side of that, the metrics that are measuring that also confirm that data coming in, a decent bit higher than the national average. Now, as someone who's self-employed, my wife and I are self-employed as well. We go through the marketplace for health insurance, and that is a place where we have seen over the last several years in a row where healthcare continues to go up. Meanwhile, our friends and family who live in surrounding counties and community, not in Lancaster County, but surrounding counties, they are seeing, or at least from 23 into 24, their health insurance went down where ours went up. And that is on a county by county level. Still think that's probably going to change as there is more option. There are more options coming from a healthcare perspective. More videos on that I've done in the past where you can kind of see where the different healthcare options are. But generally speaking, I also agree with the fact that healthcare a little more expensive here in the Lancaster area, but you do have an enormous variety, a lot of specialists. So perhaps maybe that's what's driving up that aggregated number that you're seeing here on the screen. All right, last up on the list when it comes to cost of living is speaking on transportation. Now, if you're thinking about moving to the Lancaster area, there's a variety of different types of public transportation that you can take, but it is not the same as a major metro city like a Philadelphia or a Washington, D.C. or anything like that. There's no subways here. We do have an Amtrak station right into downtown Lancaster, which does help if you plan to commute to some of the bigger cities. In fact, the Amtrak Keystone line runs from the Harrisburg area all the way down through Lancaster and then connects into Philadelphia. You can get to New York City and Manhattan every single day on this train service. In fact, going to Amtrak's website, you can get a one-way ticket from Lancaster to Philly for about $18, at least according to this day that I chose, and again the timing of which. But I encourage you to go to Amtrak's website and see that for yourself. Now, if you want to go to New York City, you want to go on a trip, and we do that ourselves here. We'd like to do that. It helps a lot to not take a car. You save a lot of money not having to park, but you take that train right into downtown Manhattan, and that is going to allow you to have all things New York. Now, the price on that is a little higher, of course, than you would be paying that if you're going to Philadelphia, and runs right around 40, 45, 50 bucks a ticket each way. But as you can see, there are a lot of different time slots available. Lancaster Amtrak Station is a hub that is definitely growing in size and popularity as gas prices continue to go high. And speaking of gas prices, here in Pennsylvania, we have some of the higher gas prices on the eastern seaboard. You can go to Gas Buddy and look at their gas map, and you can see Pennsylvania in general is a little higher than some of the surrounding states in our region. And in Lancaster, though, it tends to be slightly lower than some of the surrounding Pennsylvania counties. And as of the recording of this video, that pricing for a gallon of gas coming in right around a 3.25, maybe a little bit plus or minus on that. And again, the gas prices being a little bit higher here, you can go into Maryland and see sub $3 per gallon gas prices, or into New Jersey and you can see substantially lower gas prices. All this to say, gas taxes here in Pennsylvania, some of the highest in the country. The flip side of that, though, is that I think it all comes out in the wash for different states. New Jersey property taxes are outrageously high, but their gas is cheaper. So pick your poison. There's going to be the taxes collected in any way, shape, or form. Maryland would be another example of this. Property taxes are lower, gas prices are a little bit lower, but there are other nickel and dime type taxes in the state of Maryland that add things up. It all comes out in the wash. The states want their money, and they're going to get it here in the eastern half of the United States. In terms of other public transportation, Red Rose Transit is the big one here, and they do have a number of routes going into and through downtown Lancaster and into the outskirts of Lancaster County as well. Go to Red Rose Transit Authority's website and you can see what routes they do have. So busing options are certainly available for you here in the Lancaster area, and they are on the affordable side of things. So it's not outrageous to take public transportation here in Lancaster. Don't have a whole lot of taxi services though, so Ubers, Lyfts are very common around here for getting from point A to point B or going into downtown and having a great night. So when it comes to cost of living here in the Lancaster area, I would say that we are below the national average when it comes to several things, but above on other things. Generally though, I think it all just comes out in the wash. The biggest thing being housing, and that is being much less than some of these higher cost of living areas. In fact, the I-95 corridor is just so expensive from the Northern Virginia all the way up through Boston. And we are seeing a lot of people that are making their way to this area from these high cost of living locations, and then coming into Lancaster and really being able to get, a nicer home, nicer property for the same amount of money that they would pay elsewhere. And so that is where we tend to see the advantage here in the Lancaster area from a cost of living perspective, is that housing. Now, if you're a local here, you've watched the housing become very expensive over the last couple of years, but that's happening everywhere, especially in these limited inventory markets where we are seeing home values going up because there's still a demand and there's just not enough homes to go around. All right, so that's it when it comes to a cost of living perspective here in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And if you have any questions at the end of this video and you're still, not getting the answers you need, please reach out to us. As I said, we will have more contact information at the end. Well, here we are. Call, text, email, it does not matter. We would love to be a resource for you to be able to help answer any questions you may have about moving to or within right here in Lancaster County. We help folks do it all the time. We absolutely love doing it. We absolutely love talking to people and answering questions too. So don't feel like you'd be annoying us or anything by any stretch of the imagination. We're here to be a resource for you. And I also invite you to come check out our website, themoregroup.lancaster.com. We've got a lot of home buyer, home seller resources right there. You can search for homes and you can learn a little bit more about our team and what we have to offer for you. And if that's not enough, one more thing you can do is go to Google, type in the More Group, and see what other people are saying about us. We live in the review economy. Other people have reviewed things, and that may or may not have prevented you from going a certain route. Well, go to our Google My Business page and see the reviews, 60 plus 5-star reviews and counting. And people just like you, in your situation, in your shoes, we help people all the time. We absolutely love it. Thank you again for watching this video. Do me a favor, if you got some info out of it and you liked it, like it, give it a thumbs up, and spread some love on this video here. And subscribe to our YouTube channel here, Living in Lancaster, for more updates for Lancaster as we go forward in time. And if you hit that little alarm bell, it will notify you when new videos are produced. Thanks again for watching. My name's Matt Moore with the More Group. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or reach out to us and we'll be happy to get back to you.